Welcome to Sensible Health Solutions, the show where we simplify health and wellness. Join your hosts, Haley Fields and Dr. Scott Looper, as they share practical tips and expert insight to help you navigate common ailments, nutrition, and overall well-being. Tune in for straightforward advice that empowers you to live a healthier life.
Hi, Dr. Looper.
Hello.
How are you today?
Good. I'm doing good. So let's talk about cholesterol.
Yeah, that's important.
Let's spend the whole month talking about like biomarkers of health. And
Sure.
cholesterol is one of those.
Mm-hmm.
And cholesterol is pretty interesting because it's pretty well understood. I mean, we understand when you have high cholesterol that you have greater chance of having heart attack and stroke, and that what you need to do is get the cholesterol to come down by doing some means, change your diet or take herbs or take drugs or do something, right?
Right.
Yeah, it turns out that's actually not true. It's in a way true and mostly not true.
What isn't true about it?
Well, let's start off by talking about the normal story of cholesterol, and then I'll regale you with some facts that don't really fit the normal story. Okay, here's the normal story of cholesterol, which is if you have high cholesterol, your chances of dying of a heart attack and stroke go up.
Sure.
It doesn't go up to 100%, but the chances go up considerably.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And that is true. That is actually true. There's nothing that's it turns out it really does go that way.
But isn't that a little skewed because people age, so their chances for heart attack and stroke often increase the older they get?
Yeah. But the chances of them getting heart attack and stroke going up as they age goes up based on how much their cholesterol is to some extent.
Okay.
Okay, now let me share some other facts with you that are going to kind of throw this. Okay, fact number one. The death rate is higher if you have low cholesterol.
What is low cholesterol considered?
Low cholesterol is something below 150.
Okay.
And if the lower it goes, the higher the death rate goes.
Okay.
I'll come back to this. Next one. The death rate is lower with high cholesterol.
And what would be an indicator of high cholesterol? Where?
I'd say anything above, by definition, it's anything above 200, but I'm saying anything above 240, 250, somewhere in there. And then the interesting thing, though, is that there's some variations on this. I mean, this is part of it, is that if you're greater than 75 years old, the higher your cholesterol is, the longer you have a chance of living.
Okay, so...
That kind of goes against the other one I said, which is the higher your cholesterol is, the more chance you have of dying of heart attack and stroke. No, they don't go against each other. The higher your cholesterol is, and the greater chance you die of a heart attack and stroke. But also the higher your cholesterol is, the greater chance of you living longer, particularly if you're over 75.
How is it one and the same?
Let me come back to it. Here's the next one. The chances of you surviving a heart attack, that is getting out of the hospital alive, are higher the higher your cholesterol is.
Even though the high cholesterol is what
got you in the
heart
hospital
attack
to begin with. Now that one is really weird.
Yeah.
So weird I have to say it again. The chances of you surviving a heart attack, that is getting out of the hospital alive, goes up the higher your cholesterol is. Now, so this is clearly telling us something about cholesterol that just heart attack and stroke doesn't tell us. It's telling us cholesterol is a sign of health.
Okay.
In a way.
Sure.
So let's talk about what cholesterol does. Now I'll come back to these weird facts and explain it, but let me talk about what cholesterol does, what the purpose of cholesterol, why it's in our body. It's not in our body to help us get better heart attacks and strokes. It's almost like it's an enemy. For a while it was. For a while, cholesterol was the enemy, and we had to get rid of it. And so researchers came up with all kinds of stuff to be able to bring cholesterol down, but you just can't try that on people, so you have to try it on animals. And the really good cholesterol lowering drugs lowered cholesterol really to a point where it wasn't there. And all the animals died.
Oh.
Turns out cholesterol is useful.
Yeah, we need it.
It's in our bodies for a reason. Okay, so here's the things that cholesterol does. Cholesterol works as a patch for damage to the lining of our blood vessels.
Okay.
Now what happens is, if something damages the lining of our blood vessels, we eat things or radiation or, a bad French fry or whatever, stuff like that. And so some substance damages the wall of the blood vessels, and then there's a crack. And the crack shows the fibers underneath, because the cells crack, and then there's the fiber. And if you can see the fibers, then there's a real good chance of it triggering a blood clot, because that's clotting happens that way. The fibers show up as a trigger. And so what the body does is it sends in these repair cells. They're called foam cells. And they're part of our immune system, our repairing system. Anyways, the foam cells come in, and they're called foam cells because when you look at them under the microscope, they're full of foam. What the foam is, these little packets of cholesterol. And so the foam cells come in and basically uses the cholesterol as spackle. And it spackles the crack and throws some fibers in it and just kind of fixes it all up, fills it in. And so we have this lovely fill-in where the crack was. Now, this is all it needs to happen, and everything's hunky-dory unless your cholesterol levels are high, and then cholesterol itself is greasy, sticky, and so the cholesterol that's zooming on by occasionally bounces against this spackle and sticks. And you get, a little added blob to the top of the spackle, and then you do that again the next day and again the next day, and you do that for 20 years, and now you get this blob, and the bigger the blob grows, the more cholesterol it picks up, and so the more the blob grows more.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an atherosclerotic plaque.
Okay.
And bunches of these are called atherosclerosis, and you're much more likely to get a heart attack or stroke when you have atherosclerosis. Now the mechanism is, it's mostly that the patch gets weak, and then hunks of it break off and fly through your cardiovascular system
and
until it hits.
Clots.
Yeah, and until it hits a place where it gets jammed into. Now, if it hits a place, one of the little small arteries in your heart, you get a heart attack. If it hits your brain, you get stroke, like that, wherever. So they break off and go flying. So in this way, the more cholesterol you have, the worse it is for you, and that is true.
Okay.
That is true, except for the other things we talk about. I'm coming to it. I'm sorry. I'm having too many thoughts all at once. Let me come to the next one. Okay, here's the next thing that cholesterol does. Cholesterol acts as a cell membrane stabilizer.
How?
So it gets incorporated into the cell membranes. Cell membranes are made up of this bilipid layer. One side is greasy, the other side is moist, and so it interacts with water, and it separates inside a cell to outside of the cell. Anyways, I'm gonna have to do a whole show on phospholipids. No, let's not. Just say there's this membrane that keeps things on both sides.
Okay.
And the membrane, these the phospholipids are loosey-goosey. They flow around. There's nothing holding them steady. There's no bones. There's skin, but no bones.
Mm-hmm.
And so what cholesterol is it's a bigger molecule. It has a structure to it. It doesn't bend very well. It's kind of greasy, so it can fit in the greasy section, and it does. It fits right in where the greasy bits fit in, slides right in, and stiffens up the membrane. And so the membrane doesn't flop around. Now it's stiffer. Now this is particularly important in the brain, because the brain is made up of mostly membranes. You think about an axon, that picture you saw in the book on axons. Mm-hmm. It's this little blob with this really long, skinny thing that branches off into other little long, skinny things, and they're all membrane and no juice.
Yeah.
Right? They're skinny little thing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if they are wobbly, then they wobble around and they don't work the way they're supposed to work. There's an instability to the system. There needs to be electrical potentials, action potentials, what they're called, running through these axons for them to work correctly. And if they're wobbly, they don't necessarily work the way they're supposed to work. So cholesterol helps fix that problem and helps stabilize these. So
by giving them structure?
Yeah, they give them structure. It just literally fits inside and holds them all together.
Okay.
You look about a brain, and you hold your brain in your hand, or I don't know, this is gross, but you could take other animals' brains, slice them up, and eat them.
Yeah.
And they're made mostly of fat.
Yeah.
They're fat is what they are. So cholesterol is a goodly portion of that fat. So anyway, so the cholesterol, if it's not there, then the membranes go wibbly wobbly and they don't work as well. So let me translate this. If you look at people who have low cholesterol and they said their death rate is higher, mostly what they're dying of is three things. They're dying of accidents, depression, and infections. So accidents and depression are two sides of the same coin, which is my brain doesn't work right, I tripped over a thread, I hit my head on the coffee table, and now I'm dead. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, because you're uncoordinated. You
Sure.
lose your coordination because your cholesterol's not high enough. Or your cholesterol's not high enough, so now your brain's more prone to be depressed, and you get the feelings of depression because something's not right. And then, I don't know, you feel bad enough, you decide to kill yourself. And so we lose them for that reason as well. And these count. These people dying of depression and accidents are real people dying of real things. And so if you add them all together and you look at all causes of death, infections, heart attack, stroke, the whole kit and caboodle, every single, the cancer, whatever, the whole thing, what it turns out is the higher your cholesterol is, the greater your chance of dying of heart attack and stroke. The lower your cholesterol is, the greater your chance of dying of infections and heart attack. I mean, not heart attack, but infections and depression and suicide and some cancers and stuff like that. So if you look at the rate goes up on low and the rate goes up on high, and so where's it the lowest? If they're too high, rate goes up, right? And if it's too low, the rate goes up.
So
you can
happy
figure out
medium.
what the best cholesterol is, a happy medium, just by looking at the death rate.
Okay.
And then lining the low point of the death rate is called a J curve, 'cause it's shaped like a J.
Yeah.
And then find what that level of cholesterol is.
So my question is, how does a low level of cholesterol impact infection rate?
The immune system doesn't work as well. It needs the cholesterol.
Okay.
Okay, let me just say
The
that
cells
way.
need it.
Right, cells need it. Okay, so let's go to what that number is. It's
What that happy medium is.
222.
Oh.
That's where the death rate's the lowest.
222.
Yeah, now if you look at the labs that come back that look at cholesterol, they will say that your cholesterol is elevated if it's greater than 200. Then you need a treatment to get that cholesterol down. It strikes me as odd that the death rate is still coming down as your cholesterol goes up on average. Now, if you are a middle-aged man who smokes, your chance of dying of a heart attack and stroke is really high. And so those people really do need to have some kind of cholesterol-lowering medication because they're getting so much damage to the lining of their arteries by the cigarette smoke or tobacco, whatever, that they are making these plaques all the time. Their chance of dying of atherosclerosis is really high, particularly if they eat a lot of bacon or cured meats or Slim Jims or whatever, stuff like that. Regular people eating regular food, smoking regular cigarettes, right? Or getting tobacco in what other way are much more at risk of having dying of a heart attack and stroke. Millions of them. So those people really do need to get their cholesterol down.
So is the
Everybody else doesn't. Really, the 222 should be the number we're actually shooting
for any age?
Well, that's a good question. No, not necessarily. That's all ages all combined. If you look at any age, the higher your cholesterol is, the better. The longer you're going to live. I'll say that again. The higher your cholesterol is, the better. So if you look at your cholesterol and then you look, this is easy. The question is, the way the research done is, what's your cholesterol and are you dead? And you keep asking that people, you keep testing their cholesterol and asking, are they dead, right? Until they are dead. And then you just combine them. When did people die and what was their cholesterol? And it turns out the higher the cholesterol, the longer they live.
And so how do people increase their cholesterol?
That's tricky. It's not easy. Really, it's not easy to increase cholesterol. We try to do it in our practice all the time. Try to figure out how to get people's cholesterol up. You can, the best way to do it is to eat coconut oil.
Oh.
That's the best thing I've found. You think, no, red meat, pork rinds, and egg yolks.
Yeah, yolks.
No, they're not. They're not particularly good.
Huh.
None of those things are really good at getting your cholesterol to go up. Now, your next question is, why is cholesterol so high to begin with? The answer is because cholesterol is not the problem. Cholesterol is the solution. Think about what cholesterol is. Cholesterol is greasy, and it's benign. we use it in our body to do all kinds of things.
We
put it into
a
our
bunch of
tissues
things.
to strengthen cell membranes, to patch up the holes that line our arteries. We use cholesterol to make hormones out of. Testosterone and estrogen and progesterone are all made from cholesterol. Ultimately, cholesterol is the backbone of all those hormones. So it's a normal thing in our body, and we need it. If we don't have it, our body can't work right. That's why the animals were dying when they put them on the cholesterol-lowering medication, right? Thank goodness they practiced on animals, not on us. So we need that cholesterol. So the thing about getting cholesterol to go up is it's not really easy to do because cholesterol is made by our bodies as it's needed. That is, if we need a lot of it, our body cholesterol levels go up. So when somebody comes in with high cholesterol, the first question I have is, now let me back it up a little bit. Depends on age.
Okay.
If they're 75 or older, I just praise the Lord that their cholesterol is so high. Thank goodness this one's going to live a long time.
Okay.
Okay? There's that. If they're middle-aged, I want to know how much inflammation do they have, what's the likelihood do they have of getting a heart attack and stroke. If it's high, we got to get that cholesterol down. If it's kids or young people, same thing. I want to know what's going on here. Because if their cholesterol's running high, my first thought is there's inflammation that's happening, and the body's using cholesterol to deal with the products of inflammation. I'll give you an example. Let's say there was a lot of inflammation going on, and there was a lot of toxins being produced by something. Who knows? People are eating it or getting exposed to it, living in places that are toxic, whatever it is. And so our livers are working particularly hard to try to deal with whatever this toxin is, because our livers are the number one organ in our body for picking up toxins and removing them. And so if the toxins are coming in too hot and heavy for the liver to manage, the liver has a fallback position. What it does is it makes little piles of cholesterol in the kind of the spaces between the cells. And then when it's dealing with these toxins, if there's too many, it just takes them and dumps them in the cholesterol, like it's a garbage can. Because cholesterol is greasy, these toxins are greasy, they're lipid soluble, and so it gets solved into the lipids, soluted in the lipids so that it can't cause any trouble in the liver.
Okay.
So this is a really common problem right now. It's called fatty liver disease, right? So, or even better, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, because there's like an epidemic of this non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. What the heck? People aren't drinking booze. It's not like booze is making it happen. They're just getting it, and nobody really knows why. Well, I just told you why. The cholesterol is not the disease. The cholesterol is the solution for the problem. The problem is people are toxic. They have too many toxins. The toxins build up in their system, and your body's trying its best to put them somewhere.
Yeah, to catch them.
So it won't kill you, so you can function. So the thing to do is not to get somebody's cholesterol to go down. People think we need to get the fat out of the liver. No. Oh, wrong. 100% wrong. Because if you get the cholesterol gets sucked up, the toxins get thrown into general circulation, and what people do is they ache.
Yeah.
They go, ugh, my side hurts. Seriously, I've seen this when patients come in with got this side pain. I go, oh, geez, I've seen this before. I know what this is. And typically they have elevated cholesterol, and they have liver enzymes that are elevated, and they have blood sugar control problems, and they have a bunch of stuff going on. So, anyways, the cholesterol, again, is the solution to the problem. It's not the problem itself. So what we want to do is not use cholesterol as a scapegoat. Not try to bring our cholesterol down. What we want to do is we want to be thankful for cholesterol is as useful as it is. Let the numbers stay high, really, depending on your age and your situation, and then find what the real problem is. Now, I want to backpedal a little bit. I've said this twice already. I want to say it a third time, which is there are people on the planet who are actually in danger of dying of a heart attack and stroke. They have a high level of risk. Those people need to lower their cholesterol. The best drugs for doing this are statins. And statins are fabulous. They are really, 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 really helpful in saving lives of a fairly small minority of the population. We do not want those people to dictate the treatment for everybody else who doesn't actually need these cholesterol-lowering drugs. They don't do well with them. In fact, they do worse with them. For old people, they just need to let the cholesterol go, right?
Okay.
They just need to let it go. Don't treat it at all. So I got my 90-year-olds coming in with cholesterol 300. I go, well done.
Good job.
Good job. Well done.
Many
They get
more
a handshake,
years for
a
you.
pat on the back, and out the door.
Yep.
That's so weird because they say, Dr. Looper, everybody wants to lower my cholesterol. When I went on the cholesterol-lowering drugs, I ached. I felt horrible. My life was ruined as I know it. I won't take them. I feel really bad. And I go, good for you. You realize what happened. Don't do it. It's not a good idea. You didn't feel good doing it. That's because it was a bad idea.
Is there any way that somebody, like, we don't prescribe drugs, so what do you do to naturally lower cholesterol when needed?
Well, I use the stuff that the drugs were invented from. I use red yeast rice.
Okay.
And so it turns out that there's this yeast that grows on rice, and it turns it red. Very clever name.
Yeah.
Red yeast rice, right?
Perfect.
And it does the same thing that the cholesterol-lowering medications do. It's the same effect. And so that's what I use. Now, the problem with it is if you use it too much, it will cause the same side effects as the statins. The nice thing about it is
Which
it's
is
not...
tired,
you ate muscle
lethargic.
aches.
Okay.
Muscle aches. That's mostly what you get. It's muscle aches. And depression and uncoordination. There's that to it.
Okay.
So what I try to do with the red yeast rice is come up with a minimum dose that will put the cholesterol in a zone that I'm not so worried about. And this is mostly middle-aged men that we're talking about. Put the cholesterol in a zone that it's safer. So what's the safe zone? I try to get cholesterol below 240 in those populations. What you said, when is it too low? When do I really work on getting cholesterol to go up? Really around 150. If it's below 150, I start pushing hard to get people's cholesterol up. Ideally, if they're at 150 or 160, this cholesterol still needs to go up. And so what's the real range, functional range? It runs from about 180, and people at 180 feel fine. The death rate's low.
Is this
They're close
dependent
enough
on
to
like body size as
220.
well? Like
No.
for a smaller person or a
Nope.
larger person?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. It's all the same. Yeah, the amount of treatment that they would give would be different based on body size, but the numbers coming off of the blood test is the same, whatever size you are.
And so you mentioned that you treat with coconut oil to get cholesterol up.
By the way, kids are less. When you
Kids.
do testing on kids, the numbers come out lower. Kids naturally have less cholesterol than adults do.
Okay.
And so I use coconut oil to bring cholesterol up. And what I end up having people do is melt a tablespoon into their diet. So into food, you know, the same way you put butter on something or you mix oil in with something, you can use coconut oil. Now the problem with coconut oil is it's a solid at room temperatures. So it behooves you to eat things with coconut oil in them while they're warm.
Sure.
Because if they cool, then that oil's going to congeal
Yeah.
into something that's very similar to Crisco.
Ooh, yeah.
In
Not the best.
consistency.
Not the best texture.
Kind of the most popular way for people to actually take coconut oil in is to melt it into their coffee
Oh yeah.
or tea.
Okay.
Yeah, and they take a teaspoon or a tablespoon, depending on how much they're doing, and they just simply melt it in, and then they just drink it. And they say it's good. They like it.
Yeah.
It tastes good. Has a good mouthfeel to it. You can drink, tea with oil or coffee with oil, and it's actually nice. I mean, coffee traditionally comes with a certain amount of
Oil
in it in the form of cream. Cream's got fat in it, which since they use oil, it's called fat.
Yeah.
Coffee takes fat really nicely. Tends to make it taste better. The other thing I do is I have them just cook with it.
Sure.
So if you're going to do a stir fry, which is a fabulous way to eat vegetables, use coconut oil as your oil of choice. The nice thing about coconut oil is it's stable. When it gets hot, it tends not to become damaged. And so it causes less damage, or no damage really, to your blood vessels based on the fact that you used it to cook with. And it gets your cholesterol to go up so that your body is healthier and generally you feel better.
Good. I'm gonna start cooking with some coconut oil then.
Also, it sounds like I'm advertising for coconut oil. I don't have any stock in the coconut oil company. The other thing it does is it's a natural antifungal.
Okay.
Coconut oil is about a third-ish of the stuff called caprylic acid, which is a decent antifungal. And it's actually one of the better antifungals around. And caprylic acid its source is coconut oil. They extract it from the coconut oil, put it into capsules and sell it to you for a lot more than coconut oil costs. Or you can just do the coconut oil and get the caprylic acid for free.
Would you treat with caprylic acid to increase cholesterol?
Good question. No. And the answer is caprylic acid is too expensive, and I never did try to do it. I just wouldn't naturally think of using it to get the cholesterol to come up. There's another thing called monolaurin. Monolaurin is another extract of coconut oil, and we use monolaurin to treat viral infections.
Okay.
It's a viral infection treatment. Remember we talked about people dying of infections? It's probably because of the monolaurin that it influences the metabolism of cholesterol and then gets our immune system working better. If I was to trace out the exact pathway, it's something along those lines.
Interesting.
There's an immune enhancing characteristic of cholesterol, and then coconut oil vicariously through that
So
pathway.
coconut oil can be antifungal and antiviral?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
A miracle
I mean,
oil.
like real. I mean,
yeah.
like for real. It's like, oh yeah, in some kind of test tube somewhere they showed something. No, this is in real life. In real people living real lives. They eat coconut oil and they're healthier for it.
Well, Indians, from India, use a lot of coconut oil, and they have some of the longest lifespans in the world.
Yep. Lowest cancer rates. They're healthy for a lot of reasons. We're not exactly sure why. Is
Probably
it the oil?
I think it's all the yoga.
Spices might have something to do with that.
Fennel in the yoga.
There's been so much written about cholesterol and so much written about fats in general, because cholesterol's a fat, that really have proven that fats are bad and cholesterol is bad, and this is the enemy, and we shouldn't eat egg yolks, and we should really just be vigilant against getting rid of these things because they really age us and they weaken us and they make us sick, and it's really horrible. It's interesting to me that the reality of that is 180 degrees off of that. It turns out that cholesterol keeps us healthy, keeps us well adjusted, keeps our hormones working, keeps our brains working well.
Keeps our livers functioning.
Our liver doing its job better for that reason. So when people show up with high cholesterol, I think, why does our body need so much of this tool to fix the problem that's going on in this person? I don't ever think I need to get the cholesterol lower. I mean, I do in a way. Remember, certain populations, I want to make sure they don't get a heart attack or stroke now, right? So we got to get it down. But the more important question is, why is there so much trouble that the body needs to use this tool to fix it? It's the problem that catches my attention. So I'll run a bunch of tests to figure out what the heck's going on.
If you see high cholesterol levels, you then do further testing to see what inflammation.
Absolutely. And mostly it's along the lines of inflammation. I want to see, is there a problem with someone's liver? I want to see if there's a problem with someone's inflammation, if the inflammatory markers are elevated. I want to see if there's a problem with our body's ability, or my patient's body's ability, to manage their spackle on the lining of their arteries. There's a test that you can run. It's an LPPLA2 test, and you can measure the likelihood of these atherosclerotic plaques are going to break apart. If the numbers run high, there's a greater chance of the blob, the grease blob, of breaking up and flinging. If the numbers run low, then everything holds together nice and tight. And so you can actually treat that. There's ways you can do
What
that.
are some of the factors of those atherosclerotic blobs actually breaking apart? What impacts that?
So inflammation generally is a problem.
Okay.
And so we get is too many toxins break down the protein structure within the blob itself.
Okay.
These blobs are not just grease spots, or not just cholesterol by themselves. They actually have proteins that run through them. You damage those proteins enough, you're breaking the matrix that holds it together, and there it goes.
Okay.
Flaying and flying. So we want to make sure that everything's running tight and that the cholesterol holds together. I mean, the plaques hold together with the proteins that run through the middle of them. Good question.
Yeah.
It's a little off the show a teeny bit, but yeah, good question.
I mean, it's all very interesting. It's all amazing how important
So I
each
realize
little detail is.
This show's a weird one, because here I am, bad talking the thing that we know how to be healthy. I mean, come on, at least you know one thing, which is high cholesterol is bad. Huh? Nope. really, it's hard to get your head around it because somebody coming in who's older than 75 and they're running a cholesterol 350. Do you really mean, Dr. Luper, that you're going to actually let them go and not do anything to lower the cholesterol?
And
yes.
I'm curious.
I believe in science. I believe in the research tells me. The research says the higher their cholesterol is, the longer they live.
And
how can you go against that?
I'm curious if higher cholesterol also correlates with higher weight, or if in the process of increasing cholesterol, you're also increasing a patient's weight.
It can.
Okay.
If somebody's running heavy because they have a lot of problems with, carbohydrates and insulin, and they have inflammation, and they're depressed, and they're eating macaroni and cheese to get their mood up, and any number of problems. So the answer is yeah. A lot of times there's a problem with cholesterol. Not that it's the problem, but it's trying to deal with the problems that are being generated from these other things, and it can run high. Mm-hmm. And so there's a correlation there, but there's not 100% correlation. There's lots of people who are slender and have high cholesterol. Lots of people who are overweight and have low cholesterol. Not a tight correlation between those.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I think that's all we have time for today.
All right. Hey, good questions.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Sensible Health Solutions. We hope you found today's discussion enlightening and packed with practical tips to enhance your wellness journey. Remember, small changes can lead to big results. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us bring you the best content possible. Stay connected with us on social media for more health insights and updates. You can find us at Sensible Health Solutions across all social platforms. Until next time, stay sensible and stay healthy. This content is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Seek medical advice from a healthcare professional for any medical conditions.